Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Daniel Imran bin Muhammad Yusof, and today we'll talk about the definition of collective bargaining. According to Michael, collective bargaining refers to a process in which employer on the one hand and employee representative on the other hand. This is strive to reach agreement defining the circumstances under which employee will contribute and will be rewarded for their services. Furthermore, in order to retain the greatest available staff in highly competitive global market, firms have grown more sensitive to their employee interests and expectations. Next, due to the emergence of international institutions that place huge pressure on firms to comply with labor standards, a variety of different negotiation approaches has been evolved, in addition to trade union collective bargaining. Collective bargaining also a procedure, a approach or a mechanism that be used to safeguard the interests of employer and employee in order to decide working condition, which is the fixed wages, the salaries, and to achieve organizational goal. It is not a decision made by the third parties. Next, I will talk about the definition of collective agreement. Collective agreement can be described as a written agreement reached between an employer or employer union on the one hand and an employee union on the other hand. It is dealing to the term and condition of employment and labor of worker or the connection between such party. Collective agreement are also an agreement that reached between union and companies. Collective bargaining agreement establish particular employment terms and also circumstances for a group of employees that be known as a bargaining unit, which is who are represented by the trade union. The collective agreement outline both the employee and the trade union workplace right. When a collective agreement cannot be reached, the union will stop representing the employee, either by renouncing its right or either because the employee terminate the union representation right. Furthermore, the purpose of this agreement is to facilitate the peaceful resolution of all dispute and criticism. It is to avoid unnecessary expenses and avoidable delay in carrying out the employee business in the most efficient and effective manner as possible. The parties acknowledge that customers' satisfaction with the employer and its staff is very critical in order to make the business become more success. The parties must agree to maintain and continue to develop and improve the high quality of service. It is also acknowledged as a sign or indication of healthy relationship between an employer and a labor union.
The objective: first, to protect employees' welfare. Employers and their organizations, as well as trade unions, use collective bargaining to create equitable salaries and working conditions. It also serves as a foundation for good labor relations. Wages, working hours, training, workplace health and safety, and fair treatment are all common topics on the negotiation table. The goal of this talk is to reach a collective bargaining agreement that governs employment terms and conditions. Second, to involve employees in decision making. Collective bargaining is a productive venue for resolving working conditions and terms of employment, as well as interaction between employers and employees or between their separate organizations. It is frequently more efficient and adaptable than state regulation. It can assist in anticipating possible difficulties and advancing peaceful processes for dealing with them, as well as creating solutions that take into the consideration both employers and workers' interests and requirements. Last, to avoid unilateral decisions. Employers have a legal obligation to deal with their employees' representative in good faith and to sign any collective bargaining agreement achieved. This responsibility includes a duty not to implement specific changes without first bargaining with the union, as well as a duty not to circumvent the union and deal directly with the employees it represents.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Saiful Hidayat bin Zuraidi. Okay, for the next is about the items that should not be included in the proposal for a collective agreement. The first point is about the worker promotion. The union should not intervene in this situation since it is not covered by the Industrial Relations Act 1967. Only the employers has the authority to promote or demote their employees, because only the employer understand the firm's vision and goals, as well as what is best for organization. For example, the employer only knows what expertise their employees must have in order to hold a higher grade, such as a degree in related field. In order to hold a higher grade, and only the employer know that expertise their workers, and the workers suitable to put position as what or the employers also knows the employee good in the working or not to promotion and upgrade the position from lower grade to upper grade. Okay, for the next point is about the appointment of employees. The union should not interfere with the appointment of the employees, and this is the employer's prerogative. Only the employer has the authority to designate an employee to the organizations. Employers can hire anybody if the organization has a vacancy, such as a department of production, and attends an interview. If the union has the right to interfere in employee appointments, does not have the vacancy, and the employer is unable to pay and handle a large staff, this will have a negative impact on the company revenue. And for example, if the union has the right to interfere in employee appointment, the organization does not have the vacancy, and the employers is unable to pay and handle a large staff, and this is will have a negative impact on the company revenue.
I want to talk about transferring a worker within the organization. Employees are transferred to positions where they are more likely to be more effective or have a higher level of job satisfaction. There is no change in responsibility, classification, status, or compensation during a transfer. If it is the process of an employee adjusting to their new job schedule and location. Transfers can sometimes be used as disciplinary measures. A transfer is when an employee moves from one job to another or to a different location without changing their status, duties, or income. A change in job assignment is referred to as a transfer. It refers to an individual moving from one job to another inside the same organization without a significant change to his rank or compensation package. Next, redundancy is defined as an excess of labor resulting from any type of reorganization for the sake of economy or convenience, or if the type of work performed by the employee is reduced diminish or eliminate. Retrenchment or the termination by the employer of these employees determined to be access to his requirements after the reorganization is a common consequence or redundancy, which is usually the result of an employer's reorganization of his business. Thus, before the retrenchment or termination of the surplus, there must be redundancy or a labour surplus. Another important factor to examine when assessing whether redundancy exists in a company is whether the work continues to exist or whether the activity, although continuing to exist, require fewer personnel to carry it out. Lastly, many organizations have stringent regulation prohibiting the employment of ex workers, while the employees themselves would consider it a humiliation to be forced to return to their former company after failing to find success elsewhere. However, times have changed, and this form of action is now fairly widespread. It's so widespread, in fact, that the press boomerang employee was invented to design the type of worker who can put this type of experience in their resume. Boomerang employees appear to be most popular in technical domains. However, they can also be found in other industries. When an employee leaves a company, it's possible that he or she has no plan to return. However, just to be cautious, the employee should avoid burning any bridge with his or her previous company.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Safwan bin Sufyan. Okay, today I will present the effects of collective agreement. The first effect is collective agreement bind parties to the agreement. Okay, the employer or employers association as well as the trade union may be bound by the collective agreement if it is written and comprises a statement from both parties. It is legally binding. It is however optional, which means that it's not legally binding if it's not included in any statement that contains any party's information. When the parties or individual authorized in their behalf sign the collective agreement, it instantly binds the parties to the agreement in the collective agreement. If not disclosed to the employer's organization or union, a collective agreement is typically obligatory in the business sector. The corporate agreement in place will bind both employer and employees in the firm. Furthermore, whether the new employee is a trade union member, the new employees must have a fair reason and chance to read the collective agreement. Last but not least, it is immediately transferred to the transferee during the transfer undertaking, making it legally enforceable unless the collective agreement is writing and includes a declaration with a phrase that is integrated in the contract. It is easily accessible in the workplace. The second effect is collective agreement become an implied term of contract. The parties' collective agreement has also been suggested as a contract term. It shall be implied term of the contract between the workmen and employees bound by the agreements. As of such date and for such period as may be specified in the collective agreement, that the rates of wages to be paid. The condition of employment to be observed under the contract shall be in accordance with the agreement unless varied by a subsequent agreement or a decision of the court. The words will be implied in the collective agreement, suggesting that they are derived from industry, tradition and practice. Individual employment in contracts that ordinarily take place by means of reference to the collective agreement may be implied by the collective agreement. No one shall break the collective agreement throughout the term that are contained therein, once it has already been suggested. That's all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Najmi bin Muhammad Akbal. My matric number is 2019288852. I will conclude our presentation. In conclusion, collective bargaining is the process of an employer and a group of employees negotiating employment terms. During collective bargaining, employees are usually represented by a labour union. Working condition, salaries and compensation, working hours and benefits can all be negotiated during collective bargaining. The goal is to reach a written contract that will serve as a collective bargaining agreement. Furthermore, collective agreement also represent each employee and encourage the formation of relationship. Collective agreement also provide consistency in the workplace, improving the working condition of all employees. Negotiation, which is the agreement facilitates, encourage all parties to work together. All of these factors improve a company's efficiency and productivity, resulting in increase of growth and expansion. Last but not least, the reason why the 5 items listed above should not be included in a proposal for a collective bargaining agreement is that they are all extremely sensitive and emotional issues that could lead to an unhealthy working environment. The policy and procedures of an organization usually specify all of the items, such as worker advancement, should be handled and the various roles to be played by those who are in charge of initiating and concluding advancement process. The most important aspect of the procedures is to ensure that they are fair throughout the process. That's all from me. Thank you.